Hi, I'm Yvette Raposo, and you're watching the DO Boxing Show.
Welcome to the DO Boxing Show here with Yvette Raposo. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
And we're going to learn more about Yvette and what she's done. So a lot of times you'll see people in the boxing community, and if you're involved in the boxing community at all, you've seen Yvette at some point. And a lot of times people don't know the background behind the faces. So we want to know a little bit more about Yvette, and tell us, Yvette, how did you get into the sport of boxing?
Well, first of all, thanks for asking me, Damien. And thanks for doing this segment, and thanks for doing what you do.
No problem.
DO, get it? How did I get into boxing? Well, I was always a very competitive person, teenager growing up, even younger than teenage years. And I loved sports, played a lot of sports. And at about 19 years old, I dropped out of university, knowing what I wanted to do instead of school at that time in my life, which was to be a personal trainer.
Okay.
I just knew that. Actually, as the story goes, what happened was when I was about 17 years old. So I grew up although I was very athletic and active, I also was on the pudgy side.
Okay.
And that was me just growing up in a very healthily loving family household where food was love, and I had two grandmothers, two sets of grandparents that lived here in my neighborhood. I was very blessed growing up that way.
Very nice.
And as a teenager, that started to show up through the seams in my pants. And
Food is still love for me.
yeah, certainly. But as a teenager, girl growing up, etc., I acquired a boyfriend at some point, and that relationship didn't go well. And then for some reason in my mind, I equated him dumping me because of me not feeling good about how I fit in my pants.
Oh, okay.
So wherever I picked that idea up, I don't know, whether it was media or somewhere along the way. And I decided I never want to feel this vulnerable again, or this at risk again of being exposed to something beyond what seemed like my control. So I thought I would take control over it. So at 17, I joined a gym. I asked a couple of buddies of mine, I said, hey guys, I really want to go to a gym. And actually both of them, Stefan and Damien actually was his name, took me to the YMCA, got me started, and from there I never stopped. In terms of just what I found in the gym was a place of solace where I actually could do something about what I thought my problem was.
Okay.
So that's where the health journey, the fitness journey started for me. And with that came my healthy eating and healthy thinking. And then from there I decided I really want to help people with this. I mean, I had like a real minor issue with my self-esteem now that I look at it. Whereas I can see now people really struggling with self-esteem due to perhaps body weight issues or how they might feel about themselves, and I want to help them with that. And so I decided when I was dropping out of school that I wanted to be in a gym instead of in a classroom. And that gym where I ended up getting a job at was called Huff Fitness.
Okay.
And at the time it was not far from where my parents lived. They were at the first original location, which was Queensway and here, Ontario. Got a job as a personal trainer there. They were amazing, open arms. They taught me so much, and that's where I was eventually introduced and immediately introduced to boxing. Because as you know, and as a lot of people know, they have a very sophisticated boxing program.
Okay, so was that the time that you first had seen boxing and been immersed in it? And
good question. Funny enough, as much as I was a sports fanatic, not only playing everything I can get my hands on, but also watching it, I loved baseball and tennis were my two things as a child. I would really just glue to the TV. And boxing, however, if I would pass it on the TV or get a glimpse of it, I just thought, oh, what a weird sport. Like, what a violent, vicious, I don't get it. And in fact, I would just pass right through it on the TV. So I never paid any attention to it, actually. I never gave it a chance. I didn't have any bad feelings about it, but it just wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
It was not on my radar at all. And so when I got to Huff, it was really my first exposure to it. I didn't know any boxers. I didn't know anybody nobody was really talking about it in my circle. And so when I got to Huff and I went downstairs in the basement, that's where the boxing room was. And I just looked inside the room and wow. And I was really wowed. And then I started to meet the people involved in boxing, the boxers, the coaches, their teams. And then I started to learn about these people. And the one thing that struck me the most, that was most consistent, is that these people, these fighters, these coaches, they were just so gentle, actually. And the contrast from what I thought they were really wowed me again. Humble, confident, gentle, nice, generous, welcoming people. And that was my introduction to boxing.
Nice. Okay, so from there, your intro into boxing, then what happened? Did you get a trainer? Did you get more in depth in the boxing?
So what we did at Huff was, which was brilliant, was Andrew really liked that we would all train each other.
That's Andrew Heron, one of the owners.
Andrew Heron, yes, shout out. And he suggested and really encouraged that we all train with each other and train each other. So at the time, I had been taking Andrew's classes. He was teaching more kickboxing style classes, and Billy also, pretty close to the same time that I started at Huff, was also starting there. He was there before me, but he was already teaching the boxing classes. And so I was taking the boxing classes in conjunction with also training for a bodybuilding show.
Okay.
So I was training in boxing as cross-training to stay in tip-top shape for actually to be a competitive bodybuilder.
Nice. So
Billy trained me to be a bodybuilder.
Billy
Martin.
Okay.
Shout out Billy Martin. So he trained me. We trained for 9 hard months. I dieted for 9 hard months with Julie, who's still doing nutrition right now, who's actually doing Sandy's nutrition right now for her next fight coming up on December 8th.
Okay, that's Sandy Tesoris, you can look up.
Yeah, and Julie Mancuso is doing her nutrition. So anyway, so I was following in Teresa's footsteps at the time, who she was doing bodybuilding shows, and she really inspired me, so I decided on a date. Here we go, we're going for it, July 1st, 2000, year 2000, so that was 18 years ago, wow. And yeah, 2000. And after the bodybuilding show, I had done many months of training in boxing already at this point, and so I decided, you know what, Billy, I really want to do this boxing thing. And he just said, okay, show up Monday morning, 5 a.m., this is the time we train for boxing. 5 a.m. Not no cushy hours like 10 a.m. and noon. And I said, all right, let's do this. Okay. So that's where it began. Okay,
so he became your first boxing coach.
Yeah, so he was training me in bodybuilding, and then we switched over to... So the other great thing about at Huff is the trainers there were very versatile in that respect. So as well as getting my personal training certificate, in conjunction with that, I was also pursuing my level 1. At the time, it was the 5 levels of boxing sports training. It was NCCP, National Coaching Certificate Program. Okay. Which they've since changed, but at the time, a lot of us pursued both.
So Yvette, can you bring me through your amateur career? Like, how long did it take before your first amateur fight?
First amateur fight, we trained for about a year before my first amateur fight. And Billy wanted to make sure I was good and ready. At the time, there weren't a lot of women fighting as well. And my weight class, my first couple of fights, I fought at 147. No, I was at 135. Sorry, I was cutting weight down to 135. And so after about a year, we stepped in the ring. My career as an amateur fighter ended up being undefeated. Okay. So I was 6-0. Although it's not a direct reflection of my amateur career, because I trained for more fights than 6, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, a lot of fights fall out oftentimes. You get prepared and things don't come together where you would like them to come together. Yeah. Or girls find out they're fighting me and they don't show up. Right. So that kind of started to happen, because I must say I was very, very well trained, like a fine-tuned piece of equipment. And I say that because both me and Billy brought to the table, we both worked very, very hard. We were both very, very dedicated. I had a great sparring team as well, and we just had a great environment to train in. So I took it really serious, probably a lot more serious than a lot of girls were taking it at the time.
Okay.
So, you know, we went to tournaments, we went where the fights were, but pretty soon it became apparent that I had to go pro. So I did pursue the pros, I got my license, and a couple of other things were happening in my life combined with injuries. And although I started training as a pro, Billy and I decided both that we were going to put that on hold, and I was going to step away, and I never came back. So broken nose, lower back injury, which was just was an onset of other things combined that really just, you know, and looking back in reflection, it was a blessing in disguise, because it allowed me, as soon as I retired or stopped actually fighting, I immediately turned around and started teaching.
Excellent. And, you know, there's so many, I think, important lessons in Yvette's story. One is that, you know, when you're focused on something, you're going to achieve your goals if you work hard towards it. Two, who you get in your corner is very important. So she sought out people that were involved in the boxing community over at Huff Gym, Andrew Heron, and then Billy Martin, who had a lot of experience and was dedicated to actually coaching. And, you know, when you seek out the right people, it helps you move ahead. And then when you give everything to something that you're doing, you get the results from that, and then if it comes to an end, you know you've given everything at that time, and it makes it easier to transition over to something else, because you can go kind of full steam ahead without looking back.
For sure.
So I think that's awesome. That's amazing, learning these facts about Yvette. Thanks so much. Remember, if you have any questions related to boxing, send us a message through Twitter at DOKPOSIO, through email, akposio@hotmail.com, and don't forget to subscribe to get every episode of the DO Boxing Show. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want them pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get